Hey, it's Jared. This is the Mevo Core, a new live streaming camera from Logitech Mevo, and we're going to talk about the fantastic device that this is. Now, I got a chance to get my hands on these, and I'm super excited because when it comes to setting up cameras for a live stream or any time that you're going to be transmitting an image over the internet, maybe it's for a Zoom call or a Teams call or something like that, and you want the best image quality possible, you need a good camera. Now, webcams have come a long way over the years, but they're still not as good as a camera that allows you to attach lenses and change focal lengths and apertures and all of those good things. And the Mevo Core is a camera that does that. So first of all, let's take a look at the camera and then we'll walk around some of the features. Now, it's a box style camera, and what's great about that is that it's easy to mount pretty much anywhere. As we look around the camera, you can see there is a 1/4-20 hole on every side of the camera, including a side that has threaded pins here as well. So if you wanted to mount a handle or you wanted to make it more secure, the appropriate mount would come with threaded pins also. On one of my other Mevo Cores that I'm recording on, I put a cold shoe mount here so that I can mount an external microphone. Because yes, these not only have a great built-in microphone, but they have the ability to attach a microphone to the back of them as well, which extends the ability of these cameras. Of course, the internal microphone is great if you are within a reasonable distance to the camera, but as you know, with any microphone, the further you are away from the camera, the more potential for noise interruption and picking up of different things that are going on in the background. So you can attach an external microphone to it. So as we continue to go around the camera, you can see on the back of the camera, there are also 2 USB ports as well. One of these USB ports can be used for charging. It also can be used for controlling this device over NDI. Now, NDI does require like an Ethernet connection or something like that. So you simply would use a USB Type-C to Ethernet adapter and connect this into the rest of your system. Now, you don't have to use them that way. It's great that you can use these cameras with other types of maybe PTZ cameras, other cameras that you might be using in your system. But the true power of using these Mevo Core cameras is using the Mevo app to not only control your cameras and all the camera settings, but also produce your live stream. We're going to look at that as we get a little bit further into the video. So these are 4K cameras and they capture video internally as well. If we look behind the cover on the back, you can see that we have not only a micro SD card, which is great, but we also have a full-size HDMI port as well. Now, what I could do with that full-size HDMI port is monitor these cameras. You'll notice that there are no monitors on these cameras, and that's okay because we have the Mevo app for controlling them. But you can also run HDMI out into some sort of an external monitor, or you can connect it to an external recording device, which is how I have my studio configured. The cameras feature a micro 4/3 mount, and so we have a micro 4/3 sensor in here, and we can mount any lens available for the micro 4/3 platform. That means that you can use cinema type lenses like this, which is a fully manual lens but gives you a really neat looking image. Or you can use a series of different supported lenses that have zoom and autofocus, such as this micro 4/3 lens for Lumix cameras, which is a 45-175 zoom. And there are a ton of different lenses available for the micro 4/3 platform. So if you wanted to have multiple cameras set up with different focal lengths, giving you a different look depending on what camera you are shooting from, there are certainly options available. So as I mentioned, these cameras capture 4K 30p. The image sensor is an 8.3 megapixel sensor. The camera bodies have the latest Wi-Fi and Bluetooth technology, which means they can not only connect to each other, but they can connect to an iPad or a local area network operating seamlessly. They also have a built-in battery. You'll notice that this is powered up. It has a built-in battery that will last up to 6 hours. That means that you could be running a live stream for up to 6 hours on nothing but battery. And that's absolutely fantastic because if you are setting up in a situation where you want to put these cameras up, you don't want to run any cables, you don't have to run any cables with Mevo Core. It's completely wireless. No wires at all needed to run a live stream or record 4K video, unless of course you're going over that 6-hour limit. Now let's take a look at the Mevo Multicam app. This is where all the magic happens, where you can control your cameras. You can see that both of my cameras are showing up here. One is mounted right in front of me and I'm looking into that camera. The other one is this one right here. Now I'm just gonna go ahead and turn this camera around here and we'll get a nice up close look at my face for this camera, and I'll just focus in there. And so we've got two different camera angles, and we can switch between those cameras simply by just tapping. And you can see that it's pushing each of those into the main program feed. We also have audio levels over here as well. Now I want to record 4K 30 to both of these cameras. So I'm going to go ahead and hit record, and it's going to show me the recording settings, and it's going to show me that I can record 4K here. It shows me how much memory I have left on both of the micro SD cards, and I'm going to go ahead and start recording. Now I could also live stream this feed. So if I configured that and went live, I can live stream out to all the popular platforms in full HD. So as you can see, we are recording live. Both of these cameras are recording internally, but if I was to switch between these two different cameras, I'm also recording locally here on the iPad. So I'm getting a 1080 file that's actually going to be saved to the iPad that is of every switch that I've made here. So as I go back and forth between the cameras, it's recording to the iPad a file that I could share to social media or publish in some other way. So as I switch back and forth, it's literally recording that directly to the iPad, which is great. Now, if we look at individual camera settings, we can go into image control, and you can see here I'm looking at the image of the camera that's straight in front of me, and I have some adjustments here. Now, I can tap on my face or tap anywhere and the camera is going to autofocus. But if I wanted to override that, because, you know, sometimes autofocus can track other subjects that are in the background, I could adjust manual focus as well. And once I slide that manual focus over, it's going to lock that manual focus onto me or whatever subject you lock it onto, and it's going to stay there, which is great. We can also go into advanced focus, and I can turn on peaking. Now, peaking is going to give me an overlay to let me know my focus depth. And so I can tell that I'm in focus because I am overlaid in red here. And if I just wanted to make sure, I can just move this position and just make sure that I am tapped on there. And I am, so we're good. And I could change that focus peaking to different colors. Now, it's not actually going to record this to the feed. It's just showing me that in the preview here in the Multicam app. Now I can adjust aperture if the lens allows for that. And so if I wanted to adjust my exposure, I can slide this and make adjustments to my exposure, and it will adjust the aperture on that lens. And so I have my manual camera controls here on the iPad, which is great. I can also control the zoom. So if I wanted to zoom in a little bit tighter, I can just zoom right in, or I could zoom back out. So if you have a lens with power zoom capabilities, like this Lumix G lens, and I'll list a few other recommended lenses in the description below, these are going to be fully controllable from the app. And if we're in automatic, it's going to automatically adjust exposure, and then I have exposure compensation here. So maybe I want to increase the exposure just a little bit. I could bump that up a half a stop, or I could just leave it at 0. I can then also go and adjust the shutter speed manually, and then adjust the shutter speed, aperture, and ISO manually as well, or just leave it up to the camera to choose. I think that the image actually looks pretty good, so we're just going to go ahead and leave it there. I also can go into advanced exposure and customize my metering or the crop. We have adjustment for white balance as well, so we could set a custom white balance across all of our cameras. And then we have general settings here that allow us just to brighten or make changes to the contrast saturation of this image, and we can also create a preset. And what's great about that is that you can dial in the look that you're going for as far as the image, and then use that preset on multiple cameras, and then have presets set up for different environments. So if you do live streaming or you want to record video from a studio and you have a preset for that, and then you're going to be outdoors, you might set up a preset for that. You can customize that, and it just makes it easy for you to dial these things in and not have to spend a bunch of time setting up each camera individually. There's also some advanced settings in here as well, like turning on HDR. Yes, these cameras will capture in HDR. We have electronic image stabilization, so if one of these cameras are going to be moving, maybe you are handheld with this camera, or you're using a camera gimbal or something more advanced like that, you could turn on electronic image stabilization, and it will assist in making sure that that image stays nice and steady. If you mount one of these cameras upside down, you can flip the camera as well. There's also anti-flicker and sharpness controls. And then under setting, we can give the cameras custom names. We could format the SD card. We can set a password to access the camera. We have our settings for NDI. We have our Mevo button, which is on the back of the camera. If we look at the back of the camera here, we've got our Mevo button, and our Mevo button can start recording, which is great because you don't even need the iPad in order to just start recording internally on your Mevo camera, but you can hit that button and have it configured to actually start a live stream as well. So if you have everything configured, all you have to do is just press that button, it starts your live stream. Absolutely fantastic. So there's a ton of really cool features in this app. If we go and tap on live, here's where we would set up our live stream to Facebook, YouTube, Vimeo, X, Twitch. We've got a whole bunch in here. Or of course, you can use RTMP to connect this to pretty much anything else, any other live streaming service that supports RTMP. Mevo Pro is a feature that you can add that will unlock additional features for your overall experience, allowing you to stream out to multiple locations and stuff like that, all from within the Mevo app. Now, one of the things that I found absolutely fantastic about this is that you can just add on multiple cameras. You can use one camera, you can add on more cameras, you can add on other Mevo cameras that are not the Mevo Core. So maybe you have some of the other style Mevo cameras, the smaller ones that look kind of like an action camera. You could build out a complete live streaming setup using these different Mevo cameras, positioning them in different places, all being completely wireless and live switching that through an iPad app. I think that's absolutely fantastic. And it gives you the flexibility to easily set up something like this and not have to worry about the complexity of cables and connecting multiple devices together and make something that's usually pretty complex work. So I have to say, I'm pretty impressed with the Mevo Core cameras. It's a lot of features packed into a tiny box, set up in a way that keeps things simple to use so that you can focus more on what you're trying to capture and less time on trying to make everything work together. So check out the Mevo Core. I've got links down in the description below to the cameras, the SD cards that I'm using, as well as some lenses that I think work perfectly with this setup. If you have any questions for me, ask them down in the comment section. I'll do my best to answer them. If you found this video useful, give it a thumbs up, subscribe, and we'll see you back in the next one. Take care.